if you look at my CV, sir, you will definitely not even allow me into your hotel school. But it does illustrate that in life, when you want to do something, the most important thing is passion. And that's why I think it's wonderful what you're doing with your programs and training people. I really want to give you another round of applause. The reality on the ground is that the future of this country, and you'll see part of our slogan at the end, we talk about the future, really lies in the youth. And this is not a political statement, it's a practical one. It's called, let's start counting people. And then you realize that by far the youth are the most economically active, available people. They're not actively in economics because of unemployment, but when you start counting people that can work, and I'm not here to talk about child labor, I'm talking about active employees, then most people are the youth. And if you define the liberation struggles, understandings of youth leagues, then you realize that 2/3 of this country, because it's 32, I think, is the rate before you no longer swap a youth league member, then you realize that 2/3 of this country lies with the youth. And yet, our challenges with the youth are immense. But I'm not here to talk about politics, I'm here to get practical. So, again, I left the clipper, the thing I've been practicing for the last 2 days, at the back. So allow me just to get the TikToker.
Oh.
Ravonia, you did give it back.
It's here.
Oh, this is the most important thing we're sorting it out. So let's not talk about Namibia. Let's talk about the reality of the world. Because we're here to talk about tourism. We're not here to talk about the youth as a statement. There's a very important subject. But what we need to understand is that 23% of international arrivals are the youth. And you'll say, but you talk about the youth, where does this fit in? It will get to that just now. So understand that 23%, 1/4 of international people that travel are the youth. There's a generation now that's different than the one that I grew up on. And that is that the youth have independence to travel because they understand another little clicking thing. It's called the internet. They can do their own bookings. They can decide everything themselves. So the power of tourism lies in the youth. And therefore, if we want to engage that actively, we need to understand that number very well. They want to engage. This country is perfectly situated for that, not just geographically, but in terms of the vastness, but also in the adventurousness of it. So we have everything running for us. And yes, there's a lot happening, and therefore my speech today will be very short because I'm definitely not the expert on this thing. Our challenge is that I firmly believe that officially we're not getting this very right. There are individual institutions that do a lot, they understand it, but this collective message, if you ask me if I see another advert of the Republic of Namibia and 90% of that advert is not about the youth, it's a wrong advert. And yet we see 5% that focuses on the youth. We at the launch yesterday I deliberately showed videos of the Fort Runs frontier areas and not one single one of those videos was focusing on the youth. And yet that's where the power is. So our country is perfectly situated to handle it on every level, and yet we're struggling. It is by far well developed in terms of infrastructure. So we may not have the best airport in the world, but it's definitely very functional. Our networks are in place, so we can let them fly in. And yet we're still not getting it right. Because if you look at your numbers, and maybe that's something I have to challenge you, do you look at your numbers to say, okay, how many people that are coming into my country is under 30? Do we monitor those numbers? Or do you just say bed occupancy is so much and our rate is so much and therefore this is what my occupancy is? I smile when I talk to the lodges and they're very excited at the moment. The occupancy rate is so much up and they're fully booked and all those wonderful words. That sounds nice to a bank manager. But when I ask them, okay, what percentage is the youth then? Sorry, what did you ask? Because we're not capturing that information. Never mind marketing towards that market. And yet, that's who we are. And what's very nice about our country is we have everything. We have the luxury on the one side, and I won't mention lodges' names here, because not, but we also have the entry-level stuff. So we do everything right. And maybe the grace of the Lord is sometimes on our side and it just works, but I'm not very good with hope. I'm a practical person. And therefore, if we don't functionally manage this thing, you'll find over time that it's not working anymore. we do a lot of promoting and promotions, and we do all this stuff, but no one sits down and says, let's just focus on the youth. Let's just make this work for the youth. So when you've got a lodge or an establishment, do you have a whole marketing campaign just for the youth? Trust me. If the youth have parents, which 95% of them do have, or forget about the parents, they must stay at home. The youth decide where to go to. The youth decides that this is the place that I must go and visit. They make the decisions. So when you get very small, you all know that if you want to go eat out, you end up with a Spur, because that's where your children go to. And so you end up there, whether you want to go there or not. Now when it gets to tourism, the youth decides where everybody goes on holiday. So yes, we do have a couple of challenges over and above that. Everything is running for us, and one of them is the direct flights. Youth don't like traveling all over the place without getting where they want to be. I suppose all of us don't. So one connecting flight, okay, and maybe we have the privilege of a connecting flight with Qatar, and we have a privilege with Ethiopian Airs and with Eurowings. So we have something running for us. It's called One Stop. It's not that bad. It's okay. But we got to make sure that we protect what we have. There's certain destinations where it's still not one stop. Powerful parts of the world where strong youth engagement is. So our airlines, nothing wrong with them, but just getting more direct flights to this process. What is important about the youth, which is a major challenge, this is why this whole EXPO is about Beyond Borders. Politics don't count for the youth anymore. They understand that politics are old people stuff. They've lost their trust in politics. Not my issue, theirs. But it's not about a political statement. It's about they want to come to this part of the world. And they don't want to understand there's a country called Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe. They want to see the mighty Zambezi River and its total celebration that it can give, because they want to experience it. And therefore, geographics does not work for the youth at all. And the part of it is their understanding of direction is what Google Maps gives them. Because if Google Maps does not give them an answer, they don't know where the hell they are. And Google Maps has made the world a lot smaller. And therefore, geography, even Africa is not even a country anymore. I mean, we grew up that Africa was a country, not a continent. Africa is just a little village somewhere. And that's how big the youth sees the world already. And so when you want to try to compete as the Republic of Namibia, you're not going to win. You've got to sell this region. And this is my biggest challenge at NMH, and how we can help you do that is, how do we start selling this region as a destination? We have too many national boards, 1, 2, 3, I won't mention names because some of them are here today and they'll get excited if I go there. And I'm not against what the boards are doing, but I don't see this collective message. Because if we don't do that, and it's an interesting concept, because I think one area that does it quite well, without them even knowing they do it, is the European Union. You don't go to France, you don't go to Italy, you don't go to Germany, you go to Europe. And you just go. Try that in Africa. Come try. You're not going anywhere except that country. The closest we're getting to that now is with our understanding with Botswana. But it's only between us and Botswana. So for me, it's not really a tourist statement. It's a movement of people within the country. But can I land with my British passport in Windhoek and just go to Botswana? No, I can't. And yet, we're trying to do what? Control what? Influx of what? People. It happens anyway. Passports do not stop people. That's the irony. So we've got to really work on how we get tourists to land in one destination and be in that entire area without any further paperwork. And remember what you don't want to do. And that's where this connecting flight issue comes back to. You're not going on holiday to an airport. And maybe those of us that are a bit older have a better understanding of this is what it is like, because remember, airports have got a lot better. But the youth don't. They know how airports should work. And if it doesn't work that way, they don't pitch up. So I've spent a lot about the youth, and none of that youth statement has to do anything with us as Namibians. But it's important that we understand the youth internationally. Otherwise, the Namibian youth, and I appreciate the efforts that we have individually to train people, but it comes down to this slide. And you see I left it open. And I left it open because I'm not qualified, because I'm 52. So this is the part, and I know I only have 10 minutes, but it'll be a bit longer. This is the part that if you're over 30, you cannot put up your hand now. Because you're not qualified to give that answer. So if you don't have any individuals that are working for you that are under 30, you dare not tell me what there is. And therefore, I'm 52, I was not qualified to fit into this slide. So that if you're under 30, put up your hand, we'll take notes, and I'll definitely update my slides. What activities would you like to see in Namibia? And the point I want to make, and we'll get to this just now, if you don't have a youth employed in your organization, you're not attracting any youth into your business. I am sorry. And it's not just about listing the activities, because that's easier. You know, there's something called Africa, there goes my English, artificial intelligence. They will tell you all sorts of stuff. They're sure they will. But if you pitch up at your lodge, A is not going to entertain people. So this is not just about listing the stuff, because now youth said so. It's about when that youth enters that business, how does he engage it? And it's only the youth that will engage the youth. And some of us can say, yes, we're young at heart, and that's your story. You're still old. So it's not about your passion and young at heart. It's just you are not the youth. So coming back to that slide, if you're under 30, you're allowed to put up your hand now. Let's just give me 1, 2 ideas. But you got to know, this is where the youth now has to put up their hands. Otherwise, the story about we never being heard is now been thrown out the door. I also hear that side. We, the youth, never heard, and therefore we are left out, and now you have your chance. So you got to put up your hand. Otherwise, you can go. You seem to, I don't know, how old are you, sir? If you're under 30, you can. If you're over 30, I'm sorry, you're not qualified.
He's upper youth.
No, I feel 20 sometimes as well, doesn't count. No, I'm very serious. So just start with the end, because we're struggling here. Maybe there's nobody. How many people are under 30? Just put up your hand. Okay, so now you stick down. Now you've just volunteered. So all of you come stand in front here, because that's the only way I'm going to count this thing. Anybody that's under 30, come stand in front quickly. No, you've got to come. If you're not 30, I'll give the rest of us a chance. Just start. Don't worry, I'm not here to discriminate. Just now we have discrimination of age.
Under 30 just walked in.
Come stand in front here quickly. And for the sake of time, otherwise Nangula's on my case, each one of you just say one thing that you'd like to do in this republic. And you can define this republic to include Botswana, Angola, South Africa, Zambia, and my favorite part of the world, Zimbabwe. So if you can just start on the end, just give your name. If you don't want to be first, come stand this side. If you want to be first, stand on that side. So this is how you volunteer. Just remember, the longer you get in the row, the less chance you have of thinking of something, because what you can't do is repeat on something. So the trick in life is be first, because then you can get done with. So just say your name, James, and just say one thing, what you would like to do as a youth from an activity perspective.
Hello, everyone. My name is Omri Raad. I am a third-year hospitality student at NUST. Well, this is very suddenly. For me, I really love to, in my free time, I love to play music. For me, I wish we had more opportunities to come together, more youth to play music together, not really to create a band, but to make music. And like, I play ukulele and I also play guitar, so I would really love that opportunity.
Okay, so that's something very unique. So if I was at 52 putting up activities, I promise you the word music would not have come up. So it just qualifies that I don't know what's going on. Right, next person.
Hi everyone, my name is Albe Botha. I think something that I really love personally is any entertainment, concerts, especially acoustic, outside, picnic type events. Yes.
Okay, all right, next one.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Amor. I'm from IUM, a third-year student in tourism and hospitality. Activities I would think would most attract the youth is giving the youth chance to speak their voice, in all honesty. Giving them the opportunity. We struggle a lot because when we look at our CV or the advertisements, it says experience, 3 years, experience this, you need to be qualified in this. And it discourages us as the youth. So I think that just giving us the chance, even if we don't have the experience, to to show our power, basically.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lovisa. I'm a third-year student at the IUM. What I would love most is for us as tourism students to be given a platform in which we could communicate and engage more, because we do not have these platforms. We are very worried, where should we go? How should we go about? Now we need to do internship. We do not know where to go and how about.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Helena. I'm a third-year student at IUM. What I would like our youth to do more as an activity is to travel more. Yes, we have this imagination of, yes, when I get to this age, I want to travel to this part of the country, but we have a problem with financial problems and everything. But yes, if we get that opportunity, that's what we want to do, to travel more and explore more.
My name is Josephina. I'm a staff at Ministry of Finance. Back to the tourism, I see they are all tourism students. And like she mentioned about the internship, that's a serious point. My suggestion is for the Tourism Expo to be hosting events like career fair kind of events and engage the students. They want staff, but they ask for experience. And most of the institutions under the tourism, they don't want interns. They want people with experience that are ready-made, trained by other institutions. So at least they should do, not internship, but the career fair to take through the students and guide them. Like she said, you don't even know where to start, where to go, as much as you want to take your career further. At least the Expo can also bring in this kind of events just to help them. That's my point. Thank you.
My name is Charity Mbunga. I'm from Prosperity Hotel School studying waitress. And I would love to have like more job opportunities when you're done, instead of sitting at home with your certificate and you have nothing to do.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Marceline Poorevels, Manager of Class Conservancy. I would say not more on tourism, but in a general aspect, more focused on rural and small towns. I think it will be best if we can have platforms where youth can explore things apart from alcohol and those things. If there are platforms for us to enjoy other things, because there are no youth centers when it comes to small towns and rural towns, and then we just think, okay, let me just go for alcohol to keep me busy. So I think that's an important aspect that we can maybe visit a bit.
Thank you so much. You all can be seated. I know you've now got the limelight. Thank you. Yes, you're more than welcome.
So I'd just like to add, you were talking about internships and things like that. So from my point of view, this December that passed now, I applied to do an internship at Strand Hotel Swakopmund, and I worked there for a little bit more than a month. But I think that opened doors for me, because we need to do our WIL 2, which is your work integrated learning 2, our practical, which we need to do in an external hotel now. So working at Strand Hotel opened my door to go work at Makuti Lodge. So that's very nice. And also, being a student at NUST also really opens a lot of doors for us. We got the opportunity to go assist with the 25th anniversary of Nest Hotel in Luderitz this weekend. Monday was the event. And that really was a very good experience for us. We were four students that went. I just wanted to add that we really do have experiences, us at NUST students. We also got to give our information to maybe work at Disney. A lot of our students get that opportunity. And also one of my best friends that also studied with me, she got the opportunity to be a international student at Germany. She's there currently for, I think, 3 months. So, yeah, we definitely get a lot of experiences.
Thank you so much. Maybe if I could just put this mic one side.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you ask the youth to come forward, they inevitably realign the agenda. They're very disruptive individuals. And so I've still only got 2 things on my activity list. But that's the youth. And I think sometimes we tend to be focused. We have a job to do. In my case, I needed to fill this list. And therefore, please help me. They're not on that page. They have other challenges. And it's important that you hear those challenges. I have this engagement every day of my life at NMH where I have a clear understanding this is where we have to go, and before I know it, it's something different. But I've learned in life that if you leave them long enough, they will get back to this activity list. But what we have to recognize when we talk about these activities and everything that goes with that is that the needs that the youth have needs to be addressed. Otherwise, them activities are not going to happen. There are practicalities that they have, whether it's training, whether it's experience, and sometimes just understanding. The one person said, can we just travel? We'd like to tell you about this part of the country, but no one has really been there. I always use the example of people traveling to the north, and I come from the north, I come from Smip, so that's my hometown. And so I understand the world of Etosha quite well, because that's the only place I went to. But yet many people just went past Etosha, never going in there, ever, for years and years. And so we've got to learn to travel as well. I think that's a very important aspect for the youth, just to have a broader mind. I always remember a teacher told me, and I will say this in Afrikaans because I was in Afrikaans school. My mother was very English, but English primary school, Afrikaans high schools, those years that was still politically incorrect to do English. So my politics were all messed up. But the reality is she would say, dis nie beter aan die kant die 10-mile bult nie. Dis net anderste. Now those of us that come from Smip will know where the 10-mile bult is. The reality is it's not better anywhere else in the world. Where you live is a wild place. But it is different, and therefore just understand it a bit better. So it gives you context, so that when you do engage, you have a better understanding. So when you talk about activities and you start engaging the youth, and you say you get that person in, or 3 or 5 people in, and you say, okay, now I was at this network session, and this network session said, I must now talk to you to find activities. And then you get to answer, you know, but this is not going to work. It's not fair. You've got to allow them to experience the world a bit better. So that when they do come in, they can say, okay, now I see what's out there. But you know what, if we take this, what I saw there, and I saw how it works, this can work here because I know my environment better, and it localizes that experience. Then you'll find that these activities now make sense. So you've got to allow them to travel to be able to be your best advisor. Otherwise, they will, their world is X, and therefore they can only answer X. So traveling is a very important part to unlock activities. The world out there is not a bad place. It's different. It doesn't make our country not wow. So learn from the world and then localize it. And you'll find that your experience that you're giving local to that individual as well. Statement. I was going to turn the 2 slides around, but I didn't. Youth engage the youth. So this slide is, I'm not going to call them up front again, but this slide is, it's the same discussion as activities. Talk to the youth and tell them, how do we engage the market out? It's very much about marketing on the one side, it starts there. So if you have a social media platform where you post a little photo of a rhino that lost his way, not going to do it. But what you do is you realize, like this expo, that this expo was hijacked, not deliberately, but most probably intentionally. I'm trying to see if it's in the book, but I don't see it here. But it was hijacked by dogs. So you'll see our dog photos all over the place. The dogs have taken over. They run this expo now. So we've decided that the dog becomes the face of this organization. And I don't want to talk about the dogs today. All I'm trying to say is that how you think a campaign works for the youth, talk to the youth. They will tell you. It's on platforms, where you do it, how you do it. I don't have my phone with me because I deliberately left it, but I always taught you hold the phone like this. Now on Instagram, you hold it like this. You dare not take any photos anymore like this. It's all like this, because the world of images is Instagram. And you don't know how to take that photo. Trust me, you don't know. So the owls were singing here last night. So my daughter went out and I said, but she's lost. Because last time I remembered, you stand in front of the screen and you take a photo and a video of the owl singing. Not my daughter. She takes the shot from behind. It's wild footage. It's just the angle that the youth understand. They like the concept of behind the scenes. And therefore, how do you tell the story of the story without telling the story? Now that's an example of using the youth for the youth. And I can share 20 others, but it's not the purpose of today. So when you want to do this, make sure that you have youth that have a better understanding of the world outside the village they come from. Make sure they're part of your team. Make sure that they're allowed to do a lot more than just follow instructions. Because if you do that, you'll find that the power they bring to the table is a lot more. And yet, what did Nangula say? Oh yes, I remember now. I'm here to talk about government's policy on the youth. We spend way much time on creating policies and procedures and way too little time on just doing it. And this is why tourism to an extent is a wild place, because I think it's one industry that's just carried on, not waiting for anybody. I'm first to say government is critical. I'm extremely appreciative of what government has done for this country and continue to do. But we've got to be careful that we're waiting for government with their policies. Where the mistake does come in, though, is that when we do our thing, because we move, because that's what we do, let all of us, including government, work on coordinating. It's not about policies and procedures, it's about coordinating processes. It's a statement about network. How do we work together to find common ground in what we do? And that sometimes government is best at. But it doesn't have to be government. It can be us ourselves as well. And there's a lot happening. I'm not trying to point fingers here today. But I'm not very good. And remember, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, so I understand policies and procedures. That's all I was taught when I was at varsity and 20 years at PwC. But I've learned that if you get caught up in due process without living the process, it means nothing. So coming back to youth and tourism, employ the youth, make sure they have a better understanding of what needs to be done. Give them time, give them space, but most importantly, listen to them. They do have answers that we don't have. And they will, I repeat, they will make mistakes. The trick is not whether they make mistakes or not. The trick is, do you pick up on the mistake and manage it actively? And trust me, the worst mistake they can make will most probably be your best PR campaign that you've ever made. Because that's what's so nice about social media. It's very forgiving in terms of mistakes. So I do challenge each one of you to get involved, get the youth to be part of your program, make sure that you understand the world is a lot bigger than the Republic of Namibia, and that's why a theme around 10 degrees south is important. Make sure that you use platforms. There are various platforms to share the story. We see more and more, because of the internet, that the collective marketing of agencies are under pressure. Not because they're doing anything wrong, it's because each individual can make their own decisions. More so than anybody else is the youth. So how you share your story becomes more and more important. Because it doesn't help you talk to agency number 5. He'll play a role or she'll play a role still. But the influence is X, not X times Y. And therefore your story, how you tell your story becomes more and more important. So that you can make sure that you get your share of the engagement. Otherwise, bookings.com will rule the world. And there's nothing wrong with it, I use it a lot, but it will decide what the message is. And therefore your risk on a single platform becomes absolute. You've got to spread your risk. The youth will help you to tell that story. Thank you.
Thank you, Albe. I believe there were other youthful people that did kind of sneak into the room, I think while the rest were standing in the front. So we're definitely hoping that you have questions or contributions for this question and answer session. I just wanted to share a little story. It's so interesting. My daughter is 18 years old. I know I look good, I know. My daughter is 18. And as she's finishing up secondary school, she's totally going on a backpacking trip with her friends to Europe. And they're going to start in France and make their way to other European countries. And I really feel like that model that the Europeans have obviously perfected, because my daughter bought her tickets online. They're staying in these Airbnb places. The price point tells me I don't want to know what it looks like. But youthful people travel that way. They don't need the luxury. They want the experience. And if that's true, then I think Namibia and the SADC region could be packaged in such a way that we have these youthful tourists that come in on a budget and they can travel throughout the region. Why? Because for the most part, this part of the continent is more stable. We all speak English for the most part. And I think our roads, our infrastructure is such that they could find Airbnbs in Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, South Africa. So why not? We should really work on that at a regional level. Very, very, very excellent point you made there, Albe. And then another point I wanted to make was that youth speak a whole nother language. Sometimes when I'm talking to my son, he's 13 years old, and I'm just looking at him like, you need to translate that for mommy. I don't know what Riz is. I'm using my context clues, but if we understand that the youth speak in a different language from us, starting with their digital awareness and how everything they do is on social media, they can be on a date and the two of the guy and the girl are communicating on their phones. So it really means that our youthful Namibians have to attract youthful tourists. Bottom line. All right. So anyone else want to? Okay. All right. Quick. Actually, let the lady go first, because, you know, ladies first.
Thank you so much. I'm Seimi Christoph Shidute. I'm the Deputy Executive Director responsible for tourism development in the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism. And I think you've put me on the spot. I'm going to fail in my duty if I really do not mention and share something with you on the on youth and the program of government. It is true that really for the future of any nation depends on the younger generation. Equally for tourism, really the future of our sector, the sustainability, the growth and development of it depends on our youth. So we are not going to achieve our objective if the youth does not become active participants in the tourism sector. And given also the economic realities on the ground for Namibia currently now, the tourism sector, second to agriculture, is probably one of that single economic sector that creates multiple opportunities and employment. Therefore, we need to, as government, we need to play our roles, and we have quite a number of programs and activities that we are having on the table to ensure that the youth become active participants. Some of the future trends creates opportunities like in the area of maize, heritage and culture, sport tourism, cruise tourism, and all these areas. The list is, is long, and all these areas for the development of these areas, we are in the third industrial revolution, and therefore, as a destination, digital transformation is very key. And who are the people that can drive that for our sector? That is the youth. So we, as government, we are currently in partnership with the Africa Tourism Partners, MTC, and NAST, to develop an innovation hub, youth innovation hub, where we are going to bring together actors and creators, and we are going to ensure that really as this hub will provide the necessary support and really nurture the ideas that our youth has and turn them into really some practical implemental ideas. Those are some of the program. And we are currently also busy with developing our tour guide regulation. So the survey we conducted recently, out of the 536 tour guides we surveyed, more than 57% of those are all above 35 years old. So in there already, there's an opportunity for the youth in various, within the tour guide sector as well, under tourism. There are various opportunities. We need site guides, area guides, heritage guides, lodge guides, city guides, so much. And the youth, there are opportunities for enterprise development in those areas. Talking about all the other sectors that are now of the trend, there are also opportunities in terms of providing goods and services. So enterprise development in the tourism sector, really to address the aspect of unemployment that is currently high in the country, lies with the tourism, and the opportunities are so enormous for the youth, because for us to grow that sector and take it forward, they are the ones that has to run it. Just in short, to give what we are doing currently in government in terms of the youth. And hopefully also the Innovation Hub will be one-stop center that can provide all the information that youth will require, whether in terms of financial support, in terms of skills development, enterprise development, and the general, the digital transformation that definitely is a key for the future. Thank you very much.
Oh. We really needed to hear that, actually. We really needed to hear from an official. I think maybe what happens is that there really is that disconnect between all the hard work. And if you do work in any government office, you know that the majority of the people in those offices are sitting hard at work. They are passionate people, they are committed, they're dedicated. The problem is that how do they now properly convey that to the Namibian youth in a language they understand? Because if I asked right now a bunch of young people, how many of you actually watch NBC News? How many of you watch the NBC programming? Because if you notice, some of their programs are very informative, and when they let you know of opportunities for the youth, it's on NBC. But the youth are not on NBC, they're on TikTok. See, they're speaking two different languages, and they're not aware of the opportunities. So we can't keep on, I think it was mentioned earlier on, work in a vacuum. Somehow we have to bridge the gap between the hard work that the government officials are doing, because they sit with all the data, they sit with the mandate to create youth employment, but at the same time, how do they now convey that information in the language the youth can understand and attract them? It has to be attractive. It has to be, yes, I want to go work on a farm in the South and leave into Cologne. See? So exactly, you see? Exactly my point. Okay, we'll hear from you now.
I have maybe 4 points, then I will not in the act anymore. The first one is that everybody was a youth. In our youth time, there was too much youth activities. I remember, from church to school and all the way to varsity. I remember when I was in varsity, it was the first time I went with an airplane to a place called Joburg. I stayed at Rosebank and had the opportunity to go in YFM. And YFM only have youth. And everybody was the power of YFM. We speak to the youth, and it was only in Joburg. So it was fun. The next opportunity was in Cape Town. That one I have a roadway. And all the way was only youth up through Stellenbosch into Cape Town. And then there was a place called City Varsity. All of us were youth. Coming back to Namibia, there was one corporate company called, cell phone company, called, I think one of the first cell phone companies before MTC. And they were doing a lot of activations, and it was only youth doing the activations. And then current now, we are still youth. It's just that we are not 52. No, we speak to. I remember I speak to my boy one day, and asked him a simple question: "What do you want to be when you grow up?" He said, "Papa, I'm too heavy." I asked him, "Why?" "No, That's too heavy. That question is too, it's not for me now. And he's 5 years old. And then I have the opportunity, when I was his age, let's say around 11, 12, we tour around companies. You tour around Coca-Cola, you see how Coca-Cola is packaged. You tour around NBC, you see how everything is packaged. You tour around Republican, you see how it's packaged. You change your whole mindset. For me becoming a soldier at that time, I really wanted to become a soldier. I don't know why. Because it was on NBC every time, soldiers, soldiers. And then I decided I went into media. And it's fun. The second thing I want to talk about is the opportunities. We have the ocean. I call it the blue ocean economy. We understand we can do a lot of things now in the ocean. We can bring in tourism into the ocean. We can also bring tourism to Kunene. But next to the Puba River, we can also bring agriculture. The water is free, we pump in the water out of the, and then start our own agriculture business around these rivers. And then this food will be sold to the lodges. So the opportunities are there. Maneka's my last one. Applying for the funds to the bank. They ask the youth a collateral. And we are just startups. So now once you ask a youth a collateral, TS. You just have to give them my back. Thank you.
I can say one thing, that I'm at 52, and I can vouch that when I go to the bank, they also ask me for collateral. so it's not a youth thing, it's a bank thing. Banks ask for collateral, and I'm not disputing your statement. I just want to say it's not an age issue. They believe, and in fairness to the banks, I think always is we all put our deposits in the banks, and therefore the deposit takers wants a certain level of security. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for the banks. So why I'm saying this is that I think banks play a big role, and I can say a lot of things they do wrong, but I won't do that today. Our challenge is finding funding mechanisms outside the commercial banking sector, and we're not getting that right. One of our biggest challenges in our country is the development of our, and I'm an accountant, so I apologize for using these words, is developing our capital markets to allow individuals like yourself and even myself to operate in a world that doesn't have to please explain to a depositor. So we have serious mismatch in our country in terms of funding. It's a big issue. And we focus on the banks, and they do what they can do, and they have foundations like they have here. But we have a serious mismatch on funding in our country. Development Bank tries hard, and they've done a lot. I must give them credit. But we still have a mismatch. And yet, and again, I fly the flag, so I do apologize. But yet, this is where direct foreign investment sometimes just finds it easier, because they have different mechanisms of funding. And as Namibians, we find it difficult. So we've got to sort out this mismatch of funding. It is one of the reasons why unemployment in our country is at its levels. It's not just we have to give the youth opportunity. The lady at the back made the comment just now again. We've got to make it sustainable. Otherwise, I can employ you today, and then tomorrow I'll phone you and I'll show you how retrenchment looks like. I was 23 years old, and I had to retrench people that were 40, 50 years. I promised myself I would never do that again. So I know that pain. So it is also to do it sustainably. And this is where we, as a country, we have serious issues. We've got to find better mechanisms of funding. And it can't just be the banks, in fairness to them. Ashwin, if you got the mic.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Botha. From the onset, I just want to say thank you so much for creating this space. I want to thank you, Nangula, Ms. Rivonia. This is an absolute great opportunity. My name is Moseline, and in my official capacity, I'm the office team administrator at the Hans Seidel Foundation, but I'm here in my private capacity. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Mr. Botha, for highlighting the youth. The youth are the future of this generation, indeed. We definitely have to create opportunities for the youth, and you are right, they will make mistakes, and it's for us to meet them halfway and take on the baton. So that is a very good point that you highlighted. The youth is the future of of Namibia. I just wanted to add on a personal note that I'm a mother of a first generation daughter born in the independent Namibia. And I must be honest, my daughter is all over the place. I literally have a nickname for her, call her the mall rat. So she's literally all in the malls. So this is where at home I have to start off with teaching her financial literacy, for example. And also she's a very active child in terms of political space, geopolitics. She's got an interest in that. And this is where I also have to create spaces for her to teach about civic education. So I think it's very imperative that we really collectively, starting from home, because teaching starts from home, going back into society, going back into business, all over, that we really embark those foundations of financial literacy, entrepreneurship, civic education. If you look at the developed countries, you know, everyone is taught when is the right age to vote. Youth are not really involved. But I think with a big brand like First Run, I mean, you have such a good reputation. So it would be nice whenever we have events to also incorporate civic education program, please, because we need youth to be represented in all spaces, in all sectors of the economy. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
How's it going? I'm Ashwin Betty. You recognize me from the posters, right? Just touch on a little something, and I do understand about youth not being able to find, you know, being able to connect to the tourism content on NBC. Good thing NTV is on DSTV channel 285 and GoTV 25. We have lots of tourism content there. So I just wanted to speak from the perspective of engaging youth as consumers. I'm sure you touched on it, because there's a lot of what the youth can do for the tourism industry with regards to work. But I noticed something in having the privilege of traveling all around Namibia, being a youth that is not born in Namibia. And something I noticed, I was actually with Elmarie at Luderitz over the last weekend, and something I noticed on the ride there, of course, you know, Luderitz is far, right? In quotes, as far as Oshakati, but far, right? The youth's energy is the single quality I feel can really push the market. And that energy, yes, it can be cultivated from job creation, but that energy also really comes from them experiencing their country. And the energy that the youth have, I feel like every time we want to travel, I've got a lady who watches vlogs and vlogs and vlogs. A vlogger decides where we're going. I am very sure of that. And generally, these vloggers are people who are just excited about the places they are in, excited about the spaces they stay in now. I did notice this. Of course, I did Wenyo Paleka with Old Harbour and List, where we went all over the country, you know, and this is, Old Harbour and List obviously has got a wide range of places that you can visit. And as we went there, I would notice more and more that Namibians don't generally travel outside of their own zones. You know what I'm saying? And what was interesting for me, particularly also being at Luderitz, was now seeing how much intertwined one history there is that people can learn from, and how much wonder there really is in this nation. And that sense of wonder, I feel, is, if cultivated, can really, really push the industry. So as much as we can definitely talk about creating jobs and making sure the youth can assist the tourism industry, it would be really lovely to see how we can encourage them to be consumers, because ultimately that energy will push us forward. Thank you.
Well said.
Good afternoon. My name is Maggie Mbako, and I want to get back to Albe's slide when he called on the youth to go to the front, that they all left and there was no point yet put on that slide, but yet so many important points were brought up. And I'm also very happy to learn from the Deputy ED that there is a hub being created. And the young people in this room are very fortunate enough to have that first-hand information from the DED, whom you can take on. That DED, when are we starting together at that hub as youth? Because I believe what is needed in this country for us to be able to tick or to put points on Albe's slide is product development by the youth. What is that you young Namibians can develop as a product to attract youth to come to Namibia? What is there for somebody from nearest Botswana here that comes for holiday, December every day, apart from quad biking and of course some cruise? What is it that the youth in Namibia can create so that they can not only end in Botswana, they go to Omaheke region, for example, and that can only be developed by a person from that region. It gives you the sense of pride from where you are coming from, and only you can sell your destination better than any other person. So for us to be able to tick that slide, of course, yes, we can raise our problems that we are not, and not we, but the youth are not, but we need to, how do we get there? Why should a young person come to Namibia? Freelance tourism guide, tour guide operations, we do not even understand what is a tour guide. Sometimes you need to know what a tour guide is in order for you to take young people to the village where you come from and take them through a tour. But that also needs to be developed and packaged. And I believe there are tour operators in this room. Tour operators, how do we help our young Namibians to bring their products on our catalogs that we go and sell when we go to ITB? How do we help them do that? So I think that hub is a very important innovation if it really happens, and we need to hold hands so that we can make it happen. We need to hold hands so that we can make it happen. We share information with all the regions. You don't need to have grade 12 in order for you to develop a tourism product that attracts youth. You do not need to have a degree in order to guide how to plow mahangu so that people can do it the same way as you do it. You only need to be groomed. Thank you.
Two excellent comments.
Thanks a lot. Still Hervé Rousseau from the EU delegation. First of all, you brought up the EU as an amazing example, and it is true. It's just amazing. You can go from Dublin to Athens to Porto, Milan, Nice, whatever, and you are still in Europe. You use the same currency, and the youth today, they travel so easily with, of course, the means of transport that we have to do today. This is one thing. It was very interesting the way you asked the under 30 to come in front and talk about the thing that they want to do. You could have, I thought that you would actually ask the older one to come as well and in front, and ask them what you want to do or what you wish you had done. That would mean interesting. True. Otherwise, the EU is now in the process of creating what we call a youth sounding board, a bit like what our own way to engage the youth. And we are in the process actually of selecting youth. So from diverse origin or reasons, different background, cultural, I mean from the country, geographical as well. But I would like, maybe I will get your details and send you more information about that. And Danny, you would have been an excellent ambassador, the way you talk about this. So we will remember that, and we need facilitators like you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We have time for maybe one more question. And
mine is not actually a question, but it's just a suggestion. It's on equal opportunities being awarded to both the rural youth and the town youth. For the government policies, I wish they could be cascaded from the rural to towns this time, so that they also get equal opportunities. In other way, you also find it's equal opportunity even in the resources that will be awarded to the rural communities. Thank you.
You have 30 seconds, because otherwise we're going to miss lunch.
question and fear is, I attended an event where they're speaking about robots, and that's where we are moving to. Is because of ICT and all those names, nice names, but they bring fear in certain careers, and the youth is worried now. Because it's in mining is robots now, in manufacture will be robots, and then in tourism will be robots, and then in us will be robots. Yeah, and then I think the last but not the least is that conversations like this or platforms like this, next time please take the expo also to Gobabas. To Rasma Expo to Gobabas, to Kati, and to Puo and Reward.
So you're right. We need to engage our country. You'll see outside that one of the, it's easy to talk. Maybe I must start there. We talk way too much in this country. So we've got to start doing a lot more. So one of the things we do is we have the Town of the Year competition, because tourism in towns is, for me personally, very important, given I do come from a smaller town called Smeb. And I saw the devastation. It was wonderful what they did while they were there, but when the mine withdrew, the town got into trouble. And so I can see the impact of mining, which is wow, but when it's not there, it's not wow anymore. So, and tourism has this unbelievable ability to hold the test of time. So coming back to artificial intelligence, it's absolute, it's wow, you haven't got a clue how big it is. Yet the industry called tourism has this ability to I won't say counter AI, because it's not about the fight, although it can become one. But the service delivery becomes service delivery. The lady here that wants to become a waiter is a wow industry. So the service delivery industry is safer. Not safe, but safe. So tourism has this unbelievable ability. I'm 52, so don't ask me how things will look after 2040, because it's after my time. But I can say to you, until 2040, it's a very safe industry to be in. And that's why tourism, from a youth development, from a youth job creation, is a safer world. But you're right, AI does play a role. But tourism has this ability to play a much bigger role. So part of our strategy is reaching out to the different areas, and this is what we do as NMH, and engaging different regions, different areas throughout the year. So something we want to do a lot more. We do travel a lot. We are involved with a lot more events. Ultimately, everything does cost money, $21, $20, $30 a litre. That's the price of fuel. We are sponsoring a country called Arabia a lot more than we think we are. And therefore, it is an expensive process. But you're right, we need to get to the regions. We need to engage them more often. But you can't just come to Gobabas to say I'm in Gobabas. You've got to have an event in Gobabas that makes sense for all of us to be there. So what you do is you work with the events that are happening. So let's look at those events. We're involved with many of them already. And let's enhance those events as a media group. And it doesn't just have to be about us. It can be other people as well. And share that information. Because the point the lady made here, I've never thought of it before, but it's brilliant. Rural youth, and remember I come from a smaller town, so I do declare my interest, is a key driver in terms of job creation. Urban youth are also important, but we mustn't forget rural youth. I've never thought of that statement before. I've learned today something. Thank you for teaching me something today. So it's important that we look at rural youth as well as an active driver towards job creation. One of the ways is to go there, otherwise you're just talking. Something else we're doing at this expo for the first time, I smile, everybody was talking about going to Ludwitz over the weekend, 25 years of a hotel. I won't mention the name, I'm not here to promote the owner of that hotel. I also won't mention his name, but I will mention the following, Silver Spoon. So we're using Silver Spoon students this afternoon to share the coloring experience of something that, boerewors. So we're working with Checkers, we're using their boerewors, and we're taking that and giving it a French flair this afternoon. Because part of our World Cup rugby engagement, remember tourism goes both ways. And tomorrow night we're giving it a flair of locals with regards to towns and giving it a kapana. The same boerewors doing both ways, using students that are studying at Silver Spoon. A person that's very passionate about development of the youth as well. It's a small way because we know that we've got to do a lot more at this expo, because remember I can talk about everybody else and I can point the finger, but as I say, 5 fingers point back to your 4 if my maths is correct. So what are we doing at this expo more for the youth? It's a small gesture. It's not going to break the bank, but it's important that, and that's our small contribution at this expo, and please challenge me to do more next time to make the youth part of this. So thank you for that question. It's a good question.